So we're going to take a quick look at how to support the arm in Savasana. In the last video, we looked at how to support the head and what to look for, and you can see in Richard's head, the forehead is just slightly higher than the chin, which is what we're aiming for. And he explored in the last video how to find the right arm placement in Savasana. So we're going to take just another little exploration of that, how to make it just that much more easeful for your client. So I'll come around the side. Perfect. And so I've added an additional blanket here. So we are using pretty minimal props. We've got a blanket for the head, something just underneath the torso. We're not even going to look at the legs right now. But if we're noticing a big arch in the lower back, I could ask him to move into what we call constructive rest position. But typically, usually studios don't quite have that many props. So we're going to let it be for now and really just explore the arm itself. So I have an additional blanket out to the side. So this would require 2 extra blankets, 1 for each arm. If all we had was a Mexican or any other blanket, ideally I'm going to look at his distance from the shoulder to the floor. If there is a lot, so let's say for example his arm was quite a bit closer and his shoulder was quite a bit more lifted, we know we could fix it pretty quickly by gliding the hand just supporting here firmly underneath the shoulder. Then I would take my hand to his wrist and ask him just to be limp here and let me do the work, and then I'll move the arm out until I feel the shoulder girdle just drop a little bit. There we go. So right about there for Richard, and I can feel actually his shoulder drop into my hand. And so typically, unless someone has a carrying angle, meaning their elbow sort of bends out to the side a little bit, so his elbow would come up if he had a carrying angle. He doesn't have one, so there is sort of a nice extension from the shoulder to the wrist here. Typically, folks tend to roll their palms out and be more at attention. Consider adding a little bit of rotation, so pronation of the arm to come into anatomical neutral. Then I can take this blanket and actually shift it just a little bit so that it just comes right at where the bicep and the tricep meet here on the back of the arm, and I'll float it back down, and then I can add a little flip over of the blanket. I can even sort of make a channel for the arm so that the arm can kind of nest right in there. One more option for the arm in addition, and this was a variation that of what we learned recently at Donna Farhi's immersion. So I took a little bit more firm blanket and I unfolded it just from a foundational fold out this direction so that we could do 2 long rolls coming together. So I'll roll it to meet the middle and roll it to meet the middle. And then I'll take the end that's furthest away, closest to the hand, and tuck it under so that we're creating a little bit of a slope. And there we go. And then here, I'll ask him to lift the arm. So from about the elbow, so that the bicep tricep, so the upper part of the arm bone can rest. And then I can have him glide his hand. So just kind of slide it in there, Richard. Yeah, and nestle it. And how does that feel? Better? Worse? Same?
No, it feels good.
Feels good. Okay. So ideally we're getting a little bit of elevation. The more flexion we can get him in, the more his body will receive rest. And a little bit more anatomical neutral, and this sort of acts as a little bit of a hug to the arm, so it can really just rest in the channel of that support. So if you have any other questions, feel free to make a note below or send me an email, melissa@pranavayoga.studio. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. I hope you'll share.